Week 1 of CGL Masters Tier playoffs is here, and with it, we get players cranking their Adderall intake up to 100%, and of course you have blunders here and there. Let's waste zero time with this week, and to start off, we have EMP versus Aura Fury, and surely the Group 1 number 3 seed can win against the Group 2 number 6 seed, and yeah, maybe Coach Tool is right. Before I talk about this game, the recent patch hit the day after this match, and I forgot to get any footage, so thank you to Lux for the POV. You wouldn't see this game without his POV, so please go follow his Twitch. We start off map 1, we got Lux and Atomic trading blows like Sukuna and Maharaga, and both teams play tug-of-war until last fight territory approaches. Lux tries to go touch, but slips in the newly shined floors of Lijiang Tower. He does get his touch though, as his team perishes around him in the background, but do not fear because Fulcrum comes back on Doom and gets a 3k to try to win point, but is unable to commit the full clutch. For the second point, you get more Lux things, you know, just a casual 3k clip that you could see an appearance in a montage. I just know Lux had Chief Keef blasting at full volume from this point on because he was moving differently. EMP won this point, even with Lux throwing his pulse bomb into the innocent Winston bubble. It did nothing wrong, but he still bombed it. For the third point, we get straight belt to ass from Aura Fury, just doing whatever they wanted until EMP were done being tossed around and flipped point, and as a token of retaliation from Lux, he left a nasty surprise with Aura and bombed 3 of them to consider himself a national threat. This eventually ended up in EMP clinching the map with Lux having 24 final blows. Jesus fucking Christ. And what do we do to reward him? We take him out for the next 2 maps. He was too good for the lobby. But having Scorpio in over Lux on Havana does make sense and is a better opinion because Havana is not a great tracer map. Things start off this map a little bit weird. It starts with EMP getting first point held for a couple of minutes, and then it has 2 dying the dragon, and then we just see Scorpio tweaking off the Mega Warhead pack and eventually falls to the demons around him. Aura just had an answer to almost every play in the book besides the very overpowering Nano Blades, which they do not know how to deal with, and Scorpio leaves a nice 3k for us to enjoy and to get EMP over the first point line. But Scorpio soon gets a delayed punishment as he is entranced by a big pile of pebbles in front of him and decided he's hungry for the rock meal. Eventually, EMP make it to third point and almost full cap, but they step off a point in OT while everyone was focused on other things. For the defense, EMP put out an equally pressuring first point hold, especially when Fulcrum lays down the law in Sigma and teaches these guys about the 3 laws of physics. But after this, they shut him down with the Atomic on the Hanzo, and EMP have a nightmare about the Atomic Hanzo later that night. To finish the map, Scorpio swears he saw something that he just needed to see, because he walks out way too far from his team, and Aura finishes this map with a win. Next map is Numbani, and Lux is still on the bench! With a great attitude though, he's talking about how his team can still win no matter what circumstances. He is a W teammate. And to be honest, this map was a pretty John normal Overwatch, besides with one peculiar player who had their moments. To start, Mommy pops ult and just takes himself out before he could do any type of property damage, and that is very, very kind of him. The second time, he had very ill intentions. The rest of his team is dying on point, and he just decides to throw the nades at his feet. He really said, if I go, I'm taking you all with me. Aura do win this map though. For map 4, I can't lie. It was 4:45 AM when I watched this map, and I tried to pay attention as much as I could, but I really didn't get as much highlights as I preferred, so I'll just tell you what this map was like. Aura took the first point because EMP couldn't get a proper foothold, even with Lux finding the Juno every single fight. EMP take the second point after way better team fighting. The third point is a struggle, but Aura take it eventually. The fourth point, Lux doesn't let go and puts his foot on the gas to win it. At point 5, it was neck and neck, but Aura come out on top. For our next match, we have Z2O versus Jade Eagles, and this match was a battle of lacking DPS. For map 1, Z2O had their flex support on Mei, and Jade had their main support as DPS as well. But still, in the first round, Z2O struggled outside of Zongfrong doing big things for Z2O. Get it? Like, big things, but it's like forget it. But Jade take round 1, and for the start of round 2, Tsukishima takes a turn into a really dark alley where Z2O is waiting and crashes the wheel a little too hard. Someone take bro's keys away. But he does this himself after he switches to Zarya immediately, and they win the map off of this. For map 2, 0-2-0 starting off with a lead because Jade Eagles backline looked like a full Thanksgiving meal to Rengo on Hazard and Zong on Genji, but one man steps back into the lobby to put an end after this one fight when Oofer, as he got himself a 4K to stop the madness. We also get Tsukishima on Hog, and bro thinks he's Rengo. Wait, he's low-key frying. He might actually be Rengo. But Jade slowly built a lead because of Oofer and Tsukishima and the sticky bandit himself, Char. This guy found Z2O's backline big chilling and a little off of something because they are not paying attention after Ghoul is stuck and delivers Zong a delightful little package. Char got sticky so many times this map, you would have thought this guy was Spider-Man or something, just attacking these guys with web bombs. For map 3, we start off with Z2O playing good team Overwatch, but Oofer does not want to lose this map and single-handedly wins this first point. The next point, Jade notices two members of Z2O looking a little sweaty and then knocks them off the map into the water. But Guak returns the favor and throws Tsukishima in there for a dip as well. It turns out that not just a wheel bath was good enough for him, but a hog bath was also needed as Rengo throws him overboard to dip him into the water. The third point is won by Z2O after this nice rampage by Rengo, but after this, Tsukishima hits almost every hook and Jade Eagles cook the rest of the map. Our next game was Blackout vs Asura, and both of these teams came with the excitement to play. For our first map, Asura domination. There was an oddball pick to talk about here, and that was the tort from Dong Wagler. Blackout always seemed a little scared to push back past main, but for a good reason. With the Torb turret added to the equation, there's like 6 people were holding main, and with all these long drawn out fights, Asura take the first point in about 3 team fights. The second round was a bit closer with Shoreline opting to play the Diva and Cupid trying his absolute hardest to farm kills. This guy might be the Grim Reaper. To end the map, the Builder, aka Dong Wagler, proves this Torb pick to his genius and secures the map with a 3K. On map 2, we head to King's Row, and there might be something in the London air because this match started to go off the rails. To start off, we have a Sim and Pharah DPS line for Asura, and we just making some straight bullshit all the time. But hey, it worked because Asura took King's Row defense quite fast, may I add. But things didn't stop falling apart for Blackout as Asura were just rolling, but then we had the great Pika awakening. Pika switched the ball and quite literally balled out that gave Blackout a little foothold. Dong likely got tired of this ball and just said, fuck it, we ball. But Blackout were not happy about this, so they compensated for that by striking down Sakoso's router and making sure that they never returned. So Asura had to fight the rest of the map in a 4v5, and they tried their best, but it wasn't enough. On map 3, we get a certified banger. Asura still were missing Sakoso, so they have Hairball running the Lucio, and some freaky things started happening in the chat. But to start off this map, we get an all-out war on the first point, with Asura taking the first point up to 99% and then losing it, where it came down to an all-out war on the point. The whole house is mad. Wiener Wizard drops the beat to try and secure the fight, but MSR is too good on his horse. On the second point, Pika just started taking over fights and started dunking on Asura like LeBron. To start off this third point, MSR lays down the law on Orisa and deals with the first fight handedly. We gotta get bro in the Olympics for javelin throwing because this guy is a generational talent. But that still wasn't enough to stop the Pika Demon within his newest sidekick, Roadhog style. This guy's junk just has been a problem all game, and it makes a deeper wound as he takes Yeezys out of the sky with a few Junkrat ammo. This point finishes off with MSR Warrior taking over and laying it all out. Another MVP of this game is actually the Torb turret again, because no one off of Blackout even gave it any mind. But Roadhog style was still doing his thing, and MSR had to put him down by throwing another Olympic level spear at him. Point 5 is where Cupid locked the fuck in on Soldier, and Blackout get it done after some tug of war on point. This Havana map was something special. I would recommend going back and watching the Havana in it because it truly is beautiful. To start the map, we have Dong Wagler denying Cupid twice from peeking anything on Hanzo. You would have thought this guy might actually be in a Shimano bro or something. Asura was rolling all the way to midway through the third when Blackout finally locked in. They held Asura back for a good while until everything collapsed around them. On Blackout's attack, they matched the first point speed with Cupid on the Widow. I mean, this guy was just being oppressive on the Widow, and ew, the drive-by too? But Blackout makes similar time when they full capped as they were held a little bit on second point, but they finished 3 seconds behind Asura. Asura needed this to go to map 5, and Asura were playing like they were playing Overwatch with their lives on the line. Amisar was back with the quite nasty spears. I mean, this guy would just be generational, no? But Blackout only make it to the cafe corner. Asura, having a bit more time, start out by pushing almost to the golden box of victory, but Pika steps out on the Orisa and holds the line. Cupid does fall, but Wiener Wizard gets 2 back to save this fight. The last fight, Blackout just withhold the damage battle much better and win 3-1 over Asura. Our next game of Fallen vs UTD was a very entertaining match, but one I can't do justice besides for a few highlights, so I beg of you to go watch the VOD back. But that doesn't count for map 1, as there was a huge domination from Fallen, and I thought that this is how it was going to be for the entire series, but it turned out to be very wrong. Map 2, UTD takes us to Alice and UTD locks the fuck in. Geo wants to shut this morale shit down with a blossom, but fucking explodes instead. Just for this attempt of a crime, the Ajax god comes down and says, "Nah, we're taking you, Theory," and Theory Ajaxes his beat. I swear this guy just did it to feel something. But UTD take this map pretty convincingly. For map 3, we got Coach Tool Gaming, and it's immediately soiled because Tool tries to go for the boop off the map twice, but this wheel ain't spinning like it used to. But even with that, Fallen take this map with a low and slow roast on UTD. And to finish it off, we got another Ajax dessert with Sawale throwing it down on point, but dying before touchdown. On map 4, we get the Aura monster on Sigma, and his name is Sawale.
No, he's not touching.
Nice, good.
Oh, he actually yelled at
El CR7, el número 1, Sigma Suel! Now, guys,
huge guys. Very
that is what I'm talking about. That is what puts the work
This guy was the
on
number 1 Sig, like he said, and full held Fallen Havana, especially with Theory's ult only hitting one person and basically uses a giant flashbang, because that shit did not go off. UTD attack was almost a fuller hold, but they dumped almost every single ult on Fallen, and UTD wins map 4. For map 5, we get taken to Numbani, and Geo must have heard the news that no one shoots a Torb turret, so he locks Torb for the defense, and it kind of works, but it didn't help that every fight happened in this small death trap room where Sawale gets hungry and eats the actual sun from Theory's gun. And this room must have had a deep effect on every player, because at the end of second point, Wildcard decides to say fuck this room and all their demons in this room. But to trade it back, how you are good, Poco bombs and trades to the next play. We see the gambling disease come back as Sawale sees the flashing lights come through the trees and has to fly towards the glowing Emre, but does actually get the trade this time. And to keep this reign of terror going, Sawale ends his offense with a 3k with another Poco bomb sighting. And unlike past offenses, Sawale gets away with this on defense because he retreats on 1 HP to keep the mech. Fallen gets the first point, and about halfway through second, Colonel Sanders wants to box with the rally, but explodes almost immediately. But after this, Fallen make it to almost capping the third point, but die in overtime on last point, even with Brook's best efforts to win. The next match was UIE versus Jade Eagles, and this one was one odd match that was low-key kind of boring. For map 1, we have Kizco becoming a property surveyor and pulsing this wall to check for structural damage. There was no harm intended towards the 2 folks in front of him. UI take the first point, and it looks like it would be the same on second point, with Jade finding so many picks. Surely they would win. Never mind, Wubs killed 3. UI take this first map pretty convincingly. For map 2, Jade actually gave it some fight, as Char threw a pulse at this big fat grab and got 3. Surely they win this fight, and Wub killed 3 again. I think I'm getting deja vu here. But Jade does eventually win to make it halfway through second point, and UI make it easy by walking it home to win. For map 3, we start with a politeness standoff with Tsukishima and Kizco. Both get stuck in this doorway, and they both back up to let the other one through, but they just shoot each other instead, until Tsukishima rolls in and tries to kill Kizco, but he throws the biggest fuck you pulse of all time, and Tsukishima loses the ones. But that wasn't the only time Kizco got sticky, because he hate crime to Ufer twice on 1 point. The first one was genuinely gross, but the second one was also just genuinely montage beat drop worthy. After this point, Jade locked in on this map and finished this map with a little stylish prediction hook. I'll save you the pain of this boring map 4, but I'll leave you with this Wub's Sweet Treat 2K. Our next game is Aura Fury versus Dire Triggers, and this game was absolute cinema, so I'll try my best to make this entertaining for the first map. For the first map, Fury turn back the clock to 2018 and go far mercy on Li Jing, and this experiment died rather quickly, and they all fall apart like wet bread. For point 2, Ghosty drives a little too fast on Lucio and tries to retreat after he sees the entirety of Fury looking at him, but he dies in his retreat. To trade back for this, our recent TP's behind all of Dire triggers and gives us his best Polar Bear in Arlington, Texas impression and dies after TP. This angle is way better to see how stranded this guy really was, because what the hell is this? Dire triggers end up winning this map in 2-0 fashion. On map 2, we get Dire triggers being held for a good while, and near the 1 minute left to cap, Denji and Ghost are holed up in the stairway trying to fight against the zombie wave attack from the outside, but they skipped straight to round 20 and they didn't have Jug, so they perished rather quickly. There was also an unsung hero to this almost full hold, and this was Atomic Duck and Hanzo. The Hanzos this week are on another level. When Dire triggers reached second point, they met with a deadly force, Blank on Domina. This guy had a huge Domina ult to win the fight, and it's just everywhere on my screen. It's everywhere. And to make this more disrespectful, Blank throws Ghost straight at the wall for max disrespect. Blank wasn't finished though. He threw Dire triggers off the point to force him into a C9. But unfortunately, Dire triggers is just way too good, and they make quick work of the offense, with JML making Havana his personal playground. But I do want to highlight this beautiful ballroom dancing by Denji. We haven't seen dance moves like this since the 70s. He should have died like 3 times here, but he somehow lived. For map 3, we head to Numbani, and with the start off, we have Fury straight move. So I'll fast forward to where Dire fight back a little, and where an Atomic gets slept in his blade. I think Mirage might just be Shu. But even with that kill on the blade, Fury still managed to make it to the end of second, despite Ghost trying to touch with a rally, but gets blocked instead and explodes in his room with a very, very tragic play. The rally play must have had an effect on Denji, because this guy looks straight at 5 people on cart and just jumps straight into the carnage. Bro thinks he's Cardi. And this clearly took a hold of him on the attack, because this guy was either whip-shotted or slept off high ground every time besides when he was nanoed, which he decided to zap one person and then explore the map. He did stumble upon the backline, but help arrives and Denji accepts his fate and jumps off the map. It took Denji 4 minutes to build a primal, and Dire triggers were cooked for the map. On map 4, Fury dominate early with a recent TPing, and this time it works because they got 2 with the engage. While Dire trigger almost wins this point, with the DPS line staying alive long enough for reinforcements to come through, but it's not enough to save them, because Atomic Duck come back with a 5k to finish this point, and bro was just a problem the entire map. Brother has so much aura and brought the fury. I don't know, whatever. But Dire triggers crumbled on this map, and Fury take us to map 5, where Atomic just takes over on the Amaray to help them win the series and in reverse sleep. Please go watch the series if you haven't already. It's more peak than I'm making it seem. The last day of week 1, we have 2 map 5 bangers. The first one of the day is Cosmic versus UTD Zenith, and on the map 1, Pickle turns into Lord Accurate Mike Tyson and throws down haymakers to win the first point against UTD. For second point, we get a close tug-of-war point to make it close, and as we approach 99% for UTD, Pickle gets a touch on ball. Soon enough, he or his team will get the touch here. Oh. And to add on to the string of misplays, Conk decided to drop a Ray in a 3v4, but they did have a chance to win because Subil was low as hell, but it's not enough to secure the fight win for Cosmic. But not to worry, they end up winning this map off of Subil losing too much speed to get back in time. For map 2, UTD takes us to Havana, and UTD start off with a pretty fast attack, almost speed running through the first point, and it looked like it was going to be the same for second point, but Strider and Jeff were not going down without a fight. They had it down enough to get 3 kills, but ended up not being enough because UTD decided to hate crime them with a Noon instead. Miss opts to play the Wu Yang instead, and it gives Cosmic just enough cake to grab a foothold, especially with Miss saving Jeff from being jumped from all angles and pulls it back. Whoever said this guy is shit, I want an apology owned to the rookie of the season, please. But eventually, UTD is able to muscle through and finish about 1 minute and 36 left in the tank. For Cosmic attack, they also matched UTD's speed on first point, especially with Strider and Jeff clutching up in this fight with right Rain a little farther back, being able to pocket them. Cosmic eventually also make it to the end of third point and force OT, where they made it to the beginning of second point in their OT attack, but for defense, they opt to try to force a spawn hold, and this falls apart rather quickly, and UTD is able to win due to Cosmic staggered deaths, and we move on to King's Row. On map 3, after being held for a couple of minutes, and Wildcard still wants to make him pay attacks to get through this archway, so she decides to grab a quick little 4K, and things crumbled apart quickly for Cosmic. They end up finishing their attack near the end of second point. For their defense, they struggle to keep a foothold, but their DPS players keep coming through for them, with Strider getting a 3K to stabilize the point, and then the very next fight, Bonk grabs 2 with his pulse, but it's just not enough for Cosmic. On map 4 is where the series really turned around for Cosmic. They start to dominate on the on-run of Malga, but not before Piccolo can run it down frame 1. I think he did a total of 10 damage on this engage, but soon Jeff took over on the on-run. The same thing happened on the 5th map, where UTD just had 0 answer for this comp. The last match I'll be covering is Shoes vs Blackout, and I'll be very honest, I didn't actually watch the first half of the series, and I didn't want to delay this video for any farther for any reason. So I will be speed running this series. It is a good series, so please go watch it. On map 1, we have a Bowsy Ajax through the shoreline ult. Truly a tragedy. On map 2, Shu gets full held, and you can just tell why, because Head Raymer just runs straight into Roadhouse's Lair of Doom and dies immediately. Zeus gets full held, and Blackout win in about a minute of battle. For map 3, I want to mention Munching is in, and who is very drunk and is actually a main support player, but he's playing DPS, and you can tell he is both, well, drunk and a support player by this aura type of blizzard. For map 4, this map took a while to get on the road because Husky had an evil ass wasp flying around his room, and it took about 12 minutes to get back on, where Munching shows off 2 aura blades which are playing on your screen. For map 5, Cupid gets his nasty 3K, but it's not enough as Munching keeps ulting and emoting on Blackout for them to get that dub, especially after Husky clutches up this fight. Shoes wins in 5, and that's all for CGL Week 1 of Master Tier's playoffs. Thank you all for watching, and I'm hoping to see more great things this week. I'm sorry for the poor quality of entertainment at the end. I was super busy all week and just wanted to get this done before games this week. Thank you all. Peace.